Hello everyone, today I will continue sharing with you the story of the single mother, Tiểu San. I hope you enjoy the video. Ivy's birthday was coming up, and inside Tiểu San's heart was a mix of excitement and nervous anticipation. This would be the first year she truly had the means to prepare a proper birthday for her daughter, and more than that, she wanted to make everything with her own hands, as a gift of love for the little girl. One evening, after coaxing Ivy to sleep, Tiểu San sat at her small desk and opened her planner. Her finger gently traced across the dates until it stopped at Ivy's birthday. She smiled softly. Exactly 12 days left. She took a pink pen and carefully circled the date, making the circle big and bright. Then she doodled a tiny little cake next to it as a reminder. The page instantly looked more cheerful, just like the happiness quietly blooming inside her. In her mind, plans began lining up one by one. Bake a strawberry cream cake, Ivy's favorite. Prepare some cute decorations like pastel balloons and tinsel garlands. Cook a few small dishes so the two of them could enjoy a cozy celebration together. And most importantly, write a tiny birthday card filled with heartfelt wishes. The more she thought about it, the warmer her heart felt. Just imagining Ivy's smile when she saw the cake that her mother made with her own hands was enough to wash away all her tiredness. She closed the planner and glanced toward the bed where Ivy was sleeping soundly. The warm yellow nightlight cast a soft glow over the little girl's round cheeks, making Tiểu San's determination even stronger. "My sweet girl, this year, Mommy will give you a beautiful birthday. I promise." It was a small promise, but it carried all the love she had held for Ivy throughout the years. That same day, Hai got off work early. The weather was cool and pleasant, and as he passed by Ivy's kindergarten, he suddenly remembered Tiểu San mentioning how busy she had been lately with preparing orders and tidying the house. Thinking about it, Hai smiled, turned on his signal, and decided to pick Ivy up for her. When he arrived at the school gate, he spotted Ivy standing in line with the other children, waiting for their parents. As soon as the teacher let her out, Ivy immediately recognized the familiar figure. Her big round eyes lit up. "Uncle Hai," she called in her tiny voice, dropping her backpack and running toward him as fast as her little legs could go. Hai barely had time to open his arms before she threw herself into his embrace, clutching his neck as if greeting someone she dearly missed. He let out a soft laugh and lifted her up, spinning her once in the air. "You missed me that much?" Ivy giggled happily, placing her tiny hands on his cheeks as if answering, "Yes." The teacher standing beside them also smiled. "Ivy adores you. On days you don't come, she keeps waiting and looking around." Hearing that made Hai's chest warm in a way he couldn't explain. On the way home, he stopped by a convenience store. "Do you want some milk?" he asked, even though he knew she only understood a little. Ivy nodded eagerly, her eyes sparkling. Hai chuckled and led her inside. He picked a small milk carton with a bunny on it, while Ivy stared curiously at the snack shelf. When she pointed at a flower-shaped butter cookie, he grabbed one for her too. Back in the car, Ivy hugged her milk close to her chest. After each sip, she shyly peeked at Hai and whispered, "Thank you, Uncle." That tiny, delicate voice hit Hai straight in the heart. Then, perhaps because she was too happy, Ivy suddenly began humming, soft, incomplete tunes that didn't form real words yet. Through the rearview mirror, Hai saw her swinging her little legs, humming while hugging her cookies tightly. The sight made him smile for a long, quiet moment. This little girl really knows how to melt someone's heart. Inside the small car, the warmth and softness of the moment made the entire ride home feel lighter, brighter, and more joyful than ever. When Hai's car stopped in front of the house, Ivy was so excited that her little feet kept tapping happily against the seat. She hugged her milk carton like a precious treasure. Hai opened the door, lifted her down, and Ivy beamed, resting her head on his shoulder with pure affection. Right at that moment, Tiểu San stepped outside, still holding a cleaning cloth from tidying up the kitchen. The moment she saw Ivy in Hai's arms, she froze for a second. "You picked up Ivy for me?" she asked, her voice a mix of surprise and shyness. Hai smiled, pulling Ivy closer as if proudly showing her off. I drove past the school, so I stopped by. She was so happy she ran straight into my arms. Ivy looked at her mother and immediately raised the cookie box to show off. Mommy. Uncle Hai bought cookies. She still couldn't speak clearly, but the joy shining on her little face said everything. Tieu San looked at her daughter, then at Hai, and something warm quietly bloomed inside her. Thank you, truly, thank you so much. Hai shook his head lightly. It's nothing. I like picking her up. He bent down to set Ivy on the ground, but she refused to let go. Her tiny arms wrapped around his neck again, making it clear she wanted him to continue carrying her. Tieu San let out a soft laugh, and Hai looked at the little girl with a helpless, yet blissful, smile. All right. I'll hold you a little longer, he said, and Ivy instantly grinned like she had just won a prize. That evening, the three of them sat together around the small dining table. Hai sat next to Ivy, cutting fruit and gently feeding her. Each time she tasted something delicious, Ivy would lean her head against his shoulder, seeking comfort and affection. Tieu San watched them, and her heart quietly softened. She had never seen her daughter this happy around any other man. And she had never seen Hai so gentle, as if he was born to love this child. For a brief moment, bathed in warm yellow light from the dining lamp, a thought crossed her mind. If only my family could stay like this forever. Hai looked up and caught Tieu San watching him. His voice softened. Are you tired? Since I picked Ivy up today, maybe it saved you some trouble. Tieu San smiled, her eyes wavering just a little. No, thanks to you, I feel much lighter. Meanwhile, Ivy kept humming happily between bites, swinging her little arms as if tonight's dinner was the happiest moment of her world. And for Tieu San, the scene felt like a small dream, so gentle she didn't want it to end. Later that night, Hai was helping Tieu San clean up the kitchen. Ivy had already fallen asleep on his shoulder, so he had gently carried her to the bedroom before coming back to help tidy the table. While Tieu San stepped into the kitchen to get another cloth, Hai noticed her small planner lying open on the table. He reached over to close it, but then something caught his eye. A pink circle, bold and bright, right in the middle of the page. Ivy's birthday. Not only circled, but beside it, Tieu San had drawn a tiny birthday cake, along with a soft handwritten note. Happy birthday, my sweet girl heartsuit. Hai froze. He could feel the love and anticipation pouring from those gentle strokes, the quiet care Tieu San put into planning everything, even when life was still full of struggles. 12 days left. He repeated the note she had written beside the date. A strange emotion rose in him, warm, tender, and aching all at once. He brushed a fingertip lightly over the pink ink. Tieu San was always so thoughtful, so quietly devoted it made his heart tighten. He closed the planner and put it back exactly where it had been, but his heart didn't return to its calm state. Ivy's birthday, he had memorized it now. Engraved it deep within himself. I need to prepare something special for the little girl. The thought came naturally, as if it had always been meant to be. When Tieu San walked out of the kitchen, she had no idea that just minutes earlier, a man's heart had quietly trembled because of the small, loving things she did. Hai glanced at her again, his gaze now softer than before. San, are you tired? Let me finish this part. And deep inside him, a silent promise settled firmly. For Ivy's birthday. I won't let the two of them prepare it alone. The next day, Hai couldn't stop thinking. The more he thought about it, the more he wanted to do something truly meaningful for little Ivy, not just a birthday with cake and presents, but a day filled with beautiful memories for her and her mother to cherish forever. He spent the whole lunch break rearranging his work schedule, requested a day off in advance, and even sent out emails assigning tasks to his team so no one would need to contact him on that day. Ivy's birthday only comes once a year. I can't let Tieu San handle everything alone. That evening, Hai visited Tieu San's house as usual. The moment he stepped inside, he saw Ivy crawling on the sofa in her rabbit print pajamas, while Tieu San was tying her hair up. She looked tired, but still gentle as always. When she finished what she was doing, Hai softly called out. San, there's something I want to talk to you about. She turned around, tilting her head slightly. What is it? You sound serious. Hai smiled, but his eyes were earnest. I want to give Ivy a real birthday. A full day out. Just the three of us. Tieu San's eyes widened, surprised to the point she forgot to blink. You want to take her out? But why so suddenly? Hai rubbed the back of his neck, a little shy but still honest. Last night, while we were cleaning, I accidentally saw your planner. I saw you circled Ivy's birthday. Tieu San's cheeks flushed, she looked flustered. That. I just didn't want to forget because I've been busy lately. Hai looked at her, his voice lowering, gentle to the point it made her heart sway. I know you take care of her in every little way. And Ivy hasn't gone out in a long time. I thought, for her birthday, she deserves a truly happy day. I want to help you create a beautiful memory for her. At that moment, Ivy toddled over holding her stuffed bear. She heard the word go out and immediately squealed. Go. Go. Uncle Hai, go. She raised her arms, asking to be carried, making both Hai and Tieu San laugh. Watching them, Tieu San's heart melted. She bit her lip, her voice soft and touched. You really want to do this for us? Hai nodded without hesitation. I really do. I already arranged my work. I just need your yes. A quiet moment passed. Then Tieu San gently nodded, her eyes shimmering. Then, thank you. Ivy will be so happy. A smile appeared in Hai's eyes. You don't need to thank me. Just seeing you two happy is enough. Under the warm lights, the three of them stood closer than ever, like a small family slowly forming from the softest, gentlest moments. On Ivy's birthday, the sky was unusually clear. The morning sunlight was golden and warm like honey, making everything look magical. Tieu San woke early to get Ivy into the new dress she had bought weeks ago. As soon as Ivy put it on, she bounced around excitedly, clapping her tiny hands like a little bird ready to take flight. When Hai arrived, Ivy was already waiting at the door. The moment she saw him, she sprinted forward, eyes sparkling like fireworks. Uncle Hai. Go play, she shouted in her still clumsy voice, joy echoing across the small yard. Hai lifted her into his arms and spun her around, making Ivy shriek with delight, her tiny feet kicking in the air. All right, little princess. Today we're going to have so much fun. Watching them, Tieu San unconsciously placed a hand over her chest, as if steadying her heartbeat. The moment was so beautiful she had to hold herself together. They got into the car, and their little family trip began. Hai drove, Ivy sat in the back singing random tunes she probably didn't understand, and every now and then she'd raise her hand, asking Hai to look at her through the rearview mirror. Whenever he glanced back and smiled, she laughed even louder, as if a tiny spark of magic connected the two of them. At the largest children's play center in the city, Ivy nearly jumped out of the car from excitement. She ran from game to game, her little feet wobbling but full of energy. Every now and then she'd look for Hai. Uncle Hai, look. Ivy, climb. Hai stayed right beside her, ready to catch her whenever she wobbled. His eyes held both worry and affection. At first, Tieu San only watched from a distance, but then Hai gently took her hand and pulled her closer. Come play with us. She's happiest when you're with her. The moment his hand touched hers, her heart skipped, but she followed. She played with Ivy, laughed with her, and every now and then caught Hai's gaze, softer than usual, warmer than the morning sun. At one point, Ivy hugged Hai's leg and whispered in her tiny voice. I like Uncle Hai. The small sentence froze both adults. Tieu San looked at Hai, and in his eyes she saw something deep, sincere, something that made her heartbeat stutter. After the play center, Hai took them to a small ice cream shop. It's her birthday, ice cream before dinner is allowed, he grinned. Ivy chose a giant vanilla and chocolate cone. After just a few bites, her whole mouth was covered. Hai gently wiped the mess off her face, so tenderly that Tieu San felt something warm tug at her heart. This little one, eating ice cream like she's painting a picture on herself. His comment made Ivy burst into giggles, and for a moment the scene looked like a picture-perfect family, the kind she once dreamed of. When they arrived at the restaurant Hai had secretly reserved, Tieu San was stunned. The staff led them to a beautifully decorated table with pastel balloons and a small bouquet in the center. The warm atmosphere made her stop in her tracks. "You prepared this in advance?" "Yeah," Hai answered softly. "It's a special day. I wanted her to have a beautiful memory." Ivy sat between them, sometimes holding her mother's hand, sometimes leaning on Hai's shoulder. She ate while humming happily, glancing at the adults for praise after each song. Hai leaned slightly toward Tieu San, his voice low enough to make her freeze. "I hope, on her future birthdays, I can be here like this too." That single sentence made her heart tremble, so warm she had to turn away toward the tissue box to hide her welling eyes. In the afternoon, they took Ivy to the park. The sun was soft, the breeze gentle, the trees swaying lightly. Ivy held both their hands, walking between them as if she were a tiny string tying them together. When she got tired, Hai knelt down. "Want to sit on my shoulders?" "Yes." Ivy squealed. He lifted her onto his shoulders, and Ivy spread her arms like wings. "Mommy!" Ivy flying. Her laughter filled the quiet park. Watching them, Tieu San felt something swell inside, happiness mixed with an ache she couldn't name. She had never seen anyone care for Ivy this way. Every movement of Hai's hands was gentle, protective, full of affection, as if he had been waiting for this day for a long time. She stopped walking. The sight before her was so beautiful her eyes stung. Hai turned back and saw her standing still. "San? You okay?" She shook her head, smiling softly. "I'm fine. It's just, today was wonderful. Truly, thank you." Hai looked at her for a long moment, his gaze calm and sincere, so sincere she didn't dare hold it for too long. "I only want you two to be happy. That's all." The evening breeze swept softly past them, warm and gentle, as if witnessing the moment Tieu San's heart quietly opened for the first time. Not because of grand gestures, but because of all the small, tender things Hai had done throughout the day. That day wasn't just Ivy's birthday. It was the day Tieu San's heart blossomed, quietly, but profoundly. It was already dark by the time the three of them returned home. The streetlights cast a warm golden glow over the quiet road, making Ivy's birthday feel even more perfect than they had hoped. Tieu San carried the small bag of gifts and souvenirs Hai had bought for Ivy, while the little girl dozed sleepily on his shoulder after a long, exciting day. But when Hai gently tried to wake her to take her out of the car, Ivy slowly opened her eyes and, suddenly wrapped her arms tightly around his neck. "No, no, get down." Ivy hugged Uncle Hai. Her tiny, trembling voice was so earnest that both Hai and Tieu San froze where they stood. Hai let out a soft chuckle, patting her back. "You're tired, sweetheart, aren't you? Let's go inside and rest." But Ivy shook her head and clung to him even tighter, her eyes shimmering as if she might cry. "No. Ivy, sleep with Uncle Hai." The words made Tieu San's heart melt on the spot. She stood by the doorway, touched and startled, unsure how to respond. Hai looked flustered, yet his gaze softened instantly. He adjusted Ivy in his arms and pressed a gentle kiss to her soft hair. "I'll stay with you for a little while, okay? But tonight you still have to sleep with Mommy." Ivy snuggled into his shoulder, clutching his shirt as if afraid he would disappear. Tieu San stepped closer, her voice soft as a whisper. "Ivy, sweetheart, you had such a fun day, didn't you? Let Uncle Hai rest too." But the little girl shook her head hard, tears pooling at the corners of her eyes. Hai smiled and glanced at Tieu San. "How about I come inside for a bit? She misses me too much right now." Tieu San nodded slightly, a strange mixture of warmth and trembling rising inside her, soft, overwhelming, and a little unsteady. They walked into the house together. Hai sat on the sofa with Ivy still wrapped around his neck. She nuzzled into his shoulder, mumbling in her tiny voice. Today. Ivy happy, a lot. Ivy love Uncle Hai. Hearing that, Hai felt his heart squeeze gently. He stroked her hair, every movement tender and careful. Uncle loves you too. Loves you very much. Standing beside them, Tieu San felt her chest tighten. She had never seen Ivy cling to anyone like this, and never imagined a man could love her child with such gentleness. When Ivy began to drift off again, Hai carried her to her bed. Tieu San helped adjust the blanket, but Ivy reached out one last time, trying to hold on to his hand. Uncle Hai, don't go. Hai leaned down and kissed her forehead softly. I won't go far. I'll see you tomorrow. Only then did Ivy release her grip, sinking into sleep with a faint smile on her lips. The room felt quiet, warm and peaceful in a way that made even the adults feel breathless. Tieu San closed the door gently, and in the soft hallway light, she looked at Hai. The golden glow framed his face, making him look calm, steady, impossibly warm. Thank you, truly, thank you for today. Her voice trembled ever so slightly. Hai looked at her for a few long seconds before stepping closer, close enough that she could hear the soft rhythm of his breathing. San. I want to be around the two of you more. I want to be someone Ivy can rely on, and someone you can rely on too. Tieu San felt something brush against her heart, so lightly, yet enough to make her entire body freeze. She didn't answer right away, but the shimmer in her eyes said everything she couldn't speak. Something new, something real, was beginning. After Hai left the house, the door closed so quietly it barely made a sound, yet Tieu San's heart was anything but quiet. She leaned against the wall for a long moment, her fingers gently tightening together. Hai's words still echoed vividly in her mind. I want to be around the two of you more. I want to be someone Ivy can rely on, and someone you can rely on too. Such a simple sentence, yet it turned her entire little world upside down. She took a deep breath, trying to steady herself, then walked into Ivy's bedroom. The little girl lay there sleeping peacefully, her breathing even, her lips curved in a tiny smile as if she were still dreaming of something happy. Tieu San sat quietly at the edge of the bed and brushed a few soft strands of hair from her daughter's forehead. Images from earlier that day flashed through her mind, Ivy sitting on Hai's shoulders, laughing brightly, arms spread out like she could fly. Ivy clinging to him, refusing to let go. Ivy's eyes lighting up every time someone mentioned Uncle Hai. And then, the way Hai had looked at her, so gentle she could hardly breathe. Her heart tightened slightly. It's been just the two of us for so many years. Why is it that now, just because one man says he wants to stay by our side, my heart wavers so much? Tieu San scolded herself for being too sensitive, yet she couldn't push away the warmth quietly spreading through her chest. She returned to her room, turned off the lights, but sleep refused to come. Every time she closed her eyes, she heard Hai's voice again, warm and low. I want to be around the two of you more. She tossed and turned, hugging her pillow, her cheeks burning red. She didn't dare imagine too far ahead, but she also couldn't deny one truth. Today, her heart had been moved. Not because of chivalry. Not because of grand gestures. But because throughout the entire day, from morning until night, Hai had placed Ivy at the center of everything he did. And he had looked at her with eyes that made her feel she wasn't alone anymore. Near midnight, Tieu San was still lying awake, staring at the ceiling. Each ticking second of the clock felt like a reminder of that moment in the hallway, when Hai's gaze locked gently, firmly, into hers. It wasn't until dawn that she finally drifted off. But even in that faint, fragile sleep, the image of that man never left her mind.
Hello mọi người, rất vui được gặp lại mọi người trong video hôm nay của mình. Chúc mọi người có một ngày mới vui vẻ và một ngày làm việc hiệu quả. Hy vọng rằng những video của mình vẫn sẽ được mọi người yêu thích và ủng hộ. Và câu chuyện hôm nay mình kể về Tiểu San thì Hải đã bí mật dành tặng một ngày trọn vẹn và ý nghĩa dành cho bé Ivy, khiến Tiểu San rất là xúc động và ngày càng gắn bó với Hải nhiều hơn. Ở những tập tiếp theo thì sẽ có nhiều tình tiết hay và hấp dẫn hơn, kể về Tiểu San và Hải và bé Ivy, một gia đình nhỏ dần hình thành. Mọi người nhớ đón chào những video tiếp theo nha. Cảm ơn mọi người đã xem hết video hôm nay và ủng hộ mình trong suốt thời gian vừa qua. Hy vọng mọi người vẫn sẽ yêu thích những câu chuyện mình mang lại. Cảm ơn mọi người và hẹn gặp lại mọi người ở video tiếp theo nha.